The content of this podcast is based on medical fact and evidence-based practice from credible authoritative sources, but is not a substitute for your institution's policies, procedures, common sense, or good judgment. The views and opinions are those of Eric Bauer and FlightBridgeED in their entirety. This is the FlightBridgeED Podcast, critical care and emergency medicine education for nurses and paramedics. Here's your host, Eric Bauer.
Hey everybody, Eric back with you. I wanted to take about 8-10 minutes and kind of do a ventilation tip. One of the things that we often kind of face in HEMS, critical care transport, of these patients that are refractory hypoxic, we can't optimize our oxygenation. And one of the things I learned recently by Sam Matta at the ECHO conference, we were talking about this and this came up and he shared this. And, this is something that I remember learning a few years ago, probably something I just learned and forgot. I think we often do that. And I think it really kind of hit me. And it's like, all right, well, this is a perfect little podcast, something that we can all do and all do very easily. It doesn't take a lot of time to do this. And that's what's called recruitment maneuvers. Are we optimizing our recruitment? We know that recruitment is all about how we both deliver a breath and how that breath is maintained during exhalation, right? And so our PEEP is a big player in maintaining that proper recruitment. So we do a few things always with any mechanical ventilation patient, right? We always try to start in volume, and we do that because we want to be able to check a plateau pressure. We know that a plateau pressure less than 30 is optimal. It doesn't cause excessive stretch or inflammatory response to our small little airways. And so we have to understand that our plateau pressure is something we always need to look at. We need to trend. So when we check a plateau pressure, we know that we do what's called an inspiratory hold. Not all ventilators obviously give you that ability. And so that's kind of one downfall to some of these ventilators is, for example, the LTV 1200, the Ravel, the LTV 1000, the 1100, all those give you the ability to do what's called an inspiratory hold. Ventilators like the Impact, those ventilators don't give you that ability. The Hamilton T1 actually gives you a calculated plateau pressure. Not really sure the application value to that. I think I was talking to one of the Hamilton reps. He really was unsure about that as well. So I think that's something we need to kind of figure out. But if you have the ability to check a plateau pressure, to do an inspiratory hold, you get a few values when you do that. And the first value you obviously get is mean airway pressure. We know that mean airway pressure is our ability to give oxygenation or to optimize oxygenation. We also have a value called static compliance, and we have obviously our plateau pressure. Now, as far as static compliance go, I'm not going to get into static compliance as far as number goals, like what's too high, what's too low, but we know that static compliance is something that we can look at in this context and get a good idea if we're recruiting all the alveoli, all of the lung fields that we can. And so we do a simple thing. We check a plateau pressure. We document our static compliance. We document our mean airway pressure. We document our plateau pressure. And so let's say our static compliance is 60. Our plateau pressure is 20. That static compliance is going to be our gauge to see if we're recruiting as much as we can. And so all we do is we start with a PEEP of 5 to 6. We check that plateau pressure, as I said, document our static compliance, document our P-plat. Then wait a few minutes, increase your PEEP by 2. So go from 5 to 6 to, we'll say we started at 5, we'll go to 7. Recheck your plateau pressure. If you had an increase in static compliance, if compliance improves, then you know that you have more recruitment ability. So you're going to continue to do that, right? You're going to check your plateau pressure, make sure it's not going above 30. We're going to raise our PEEP up again. We're going to go from 7 to 9. Let's say our static compliance goes up again. It went from 60 to 70 on the first recruitment maneuver, and now we're at 70 and we go to 75. That's telling you that you have an improvement in recruitment. So we're at a PEEP of 9. Our alveoli are being maintained at a higher surface area. A larger amount of volume is maintained in the alveoli. And so we can do that again. We can check a plateau pressure. We can go up. Right? A lot of people say that they have guidelines that limit their ability to raise PEEP. So some companies say 10 is too high, or it's kind of the max before you get medical direction. Some companies say 15. Some don't have any number whatsoever, right? So you're going to be limited to the ability to raise up PEEP. So let's just say that you have a protocol where you have a PEEP limit of 15. You're at 9 now. You say, all right, I'm going to go up another 2. I had an optimization of my recruitment. My static compliance improved on the first maneuver. On the second maneuver, I'm going to do it again. Raise my PEEP up from 9 to 11 now. Recheck your plateau pressure. Again, make sure that plateau pressure does not go up above your 30. Check your static compliance. Let's say now the static compliance doesn't change. It stays the same. You're still at 75. That basically now is saying that you've reached your max on recruitment. So your max on recruitment is now there, and there's no need to try to attempt to recruit anymore. So you've optimized your ability to deliver oxygen. So I think that's the key. Optimize your ability to deliver oxygen, make it count, make your care count, and just by doing this quick little maneuver, will optimize your care. So hopefully this little tip helps. Apply it. If you have any questions, email me, eric.bauer@flightbridgeed.com, and we will talk to you soon.
This has been a production of the FlightBridgeED Podcast, leading the way in pre-hospital critical care and emergency medicine education.